Hello there. So a double whammy for drivers in Cannes, London. The war on cars continues. Oh, and I debunk a Ramona claim in this video. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. Now, not only has the London Mayor Sadiq Khan hugely extended the ultra-low emissions zone, or ULEZ, he's also decided to put in train an operation to get road tolls up and running to replace the ULEZ and the congestion charge zone in due course. And it would of course also be getting electric car drivers to cough up too. Now, Khan tries to dismiss claims that this is anti-car. He says it won't hurt the electricians, the plumbers and the florists. Well, I wonder what they'll be thinking about this if they still use a well-maintained older vehicle. And Nicholas Lyles, the head of RAC Road Policy, described this as a hammer blow for drivers already squeezed by increased petrol and diesel costs. Khan's response was basically to say, buy a newer car. And he's using a £12.50 a day charge to try and enforce compliance. But I'm sure if those people could afford a new car, they'd already have a newer car. But they're not on Khan's wages and expenses, are they? But this is really all about increasing the London tax take. Because if he drives the majority of the older cars off the roads in London, it would make the expanded ULEZ redundant, and the tax taken from the few older cars left would probably not be enough to keep the system running. Especially after 2030, when under current plans there will be no new petrol and diesel cars available. So why plan to put a huge camera and sensor system in place in a few years' time, when the tech is available, to charge drivers by the mile and by the hour of the day, unless it's going to apply to all vehicles, including electric ones? He's putting in place a massive money-making machine. Now, a system like that should be optimised for the needs of the drivers, those that need to get about the place, to keep roads as free-flowing as possible. But I suspect it will be optimised for revenue collection, however old the car is and whenever it's on the roads. Also, bear in mind that car production has slumped over the last few years, so there are fewer new cars available anyway, and older cars are holding their value more. Now, on car production, there's a graph circulating on Twitter at the moment pointing to UK car production statistics from 2016 and saying the slump in production is all down to Brexit, forgetting to mention that the UK didn't actually leave the EU in 2016. However, I've produced a graph of my own to give some balance to this, and it actually debunks the Ramona claims completely. Here's a graph of car production by Germany, the US and the UK from 2016 to 2021. And yes, Germany really does make more cars than the US does, and according to Forbes pays its workers twice as much as well. So in that time frame of 2016 to 2021, German car production, shown by the green line, fell by 46.1%, from 5.75 million units to 3.1 million. UK car production, shown by the red line, fell by 50.4%, from 1.72 million to 860,000. And in the US it fell by 60.1%, from 3.9 million to 1.56 million, as shown by the blue line. Now tell me about Brexit. The Ramona campaign is to misuse all the copious negative economic news being felt around the world and try and convince everyone that it's only happening in the UK and only down to us leaving the European Union. But their claims do not hold up under scrutiny when people just lift their eyes out of the UK for a moment. And French and Italian car production has also declined since 2016. But this next graph might be an eye-opener for some of you. This one includes China. Look at how far ahead of the rest of us they are. And also look at the limited 7.2% drop in their car production from 2016 to 2021. From over 28 million in 2016 to just over 26 million in 2021. And it's the WEF puppets, Hunt and Sunak, who are putting the UK economy into a permanent degrowth hibernation, ably assisted by Sadiq Khan and his anti-car agenda, while the Chinese just smile and get on with it. And now we hear that those planning for their retirement in the years to come are going to see the state pension age go up earlier than expected. So if you're in your mid-50s right now, you could see your current state pension age of 67 go up to 68. And according to the experts, this will save the country billions of quid. Now that might sound fine to someone with a nice public sector pension that pays out from 65 or even earlier, or those who've had the financial wherewithal to put enough away. But I would hate to be a cleaner or a roofer forced to nurse their body through yet another year of manual labour before they can afford to jack the job in. And it could also lead to some people being forced onto benefits for a few years before the state pension kicks in for them. But well-heeled politicians and civil service mandarins are working on plans to link the state pension age to general life expectancy. Whoever said that life isn't fair got that one dead right. Now I'll hand you over to Richard for his take on the potential breakup of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening. If you want to know what the final causation of a split of the United Kingdom will be, it won't be the SNP or Plaid Cymru that will break the UK and their doings. It will be Westminster and the infestation of greedy little pigs with small penises that now live there. When it comes to the impending end of the UK, don't give third-rate politicians like Nicola Sturgeon, Ian Blackford, Adam Price or Leanne Wood any more credit than they are due. They have inspired nothing and proven to be nothing more than shallow liberal lefty opportunists, capable of nothing more than virtue signalling and have a panache for authoritarian control, as has been proven over the past 3 years. It seems almost impossible to envisage our union of nations lasting more than a few years, as the people of the devolved nations feel less commonality with those in Westminster that make the rules, yet do not abide by the rules they make. Don't get me wrong, such a disconnect from the wealth and influence of the South East and Westminster is also being felt in other parts of England. But Wales and Scotland in particular have their own national identities, and the historical weight of history and independence sits behind them. I fear for the future of England outside of the UK more than I do for any other devolved nation. But in light of England's desire to elect politicians who have destroyed English culture and any other form of national pride, I am afraid to say England has itself to blame for England's demise. Now don't think me some Welsh supremacist nationalist gloating over the demise of England. I was raised in Wales by a Welsh family, but I am afraid my European side of the family has no Welsh genetic heritage. And I am mostly split in my DNA between England, the southeast of England, and Scotland, with very, very small little splashes of Norwegian and Irish DNA in there as well. The rest of my DNA makeup would surprise you. And I mean surprise you. I digress deliciously and entirely from the point of this video. If you want to know why the UK will break apart, and it will be because of the self-interest and self-entitled political elite in Westminster, who have no regard for the people of Britain. Thus, the people of the devolved nations will quite legitimately ask why they should be a part of a union that has no regard for them. This is exactly the same reason why many of us voted for Brexit, to remove the control mechanisms used by our friends in Europe to rule over us with direct and indirect authoritarian governance. To myself and most of you out there, democratic accountability means everything. And that's where the problems will arise, as the UK breaks up and the devolved nations are forced back into the arms of the EU, with snakes in the SNP, etc., relishing handing back power to Brussels. I would have some respect for the SNP and Plaid Cymru, who used to be a very different political party that I did support. But how can anyone support them when it is quite clear that these new reiterations of the SNP and Plaid Cymru have no regard for democratic accountability? It means nothing to them. If the UK is to be split, let the devolved nations have decent representation. And by that I mean representation that values democratic accountability and actually wants to govern themselves. By the way, tomorrow's video will be on why I have changed my mind, and we now need a Labour government. Yes, I did actually say that. I still hate the party, but we need Labour in power right now for a very good reason. Trust me on this one. Very much looking forward to tomorrow evening's video on that. Anyway, back over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.